YouTubers, gamers, and moviegoers, what's going on, guys? I'm the Messiah. This is Messiah Entertainment, and it's such a beautiful day outside. It's nothing but sunshine and rainbows, so what better way to celebrate such a beautiful day than to count down the top 10 worst films of 2016. You know, the ones that you spend your hard-earned money on just to get nothing but shit on your plate. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. Number 10. Snow White and the Huntsman was actually a pretty good movie, so I actually had really high hopes when it came to this one. But when I saw it, I don't know, it just didn't feel like a sequel to the last movie I had just watched. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel authentic. The Huntsman Winter's War is just such a weird movie. It trades out the story that we had in the last one and it replaces it with just a bunch of fancy CGI jumps and spins and action moves, and it's just not as good as the first one. They could have done so much interesting stuff, having an ice queen who has her own nation with huntsmen who fight for her, and you know, you could have had that play into what they did in the last film, where Kristen Stewart's character Snow White has her own army and they go to war, and actually have a winter's war with one another, but they actually just kind of allude to it in the background and nothing ever happens. Chris Hemsworth's character in this movie doesn't really match this character in the previous film. Here he's kind of playing like a Thor sort of charismatic character. In the last film that was not him at all. He was just a lone huntsman on his own. This one tries to tell his origin. I kind of call BS on. I don't know, I just kind of thought it was kind of dumb. The movie actually tries to play it off like we don't know Jessica Chastain's character is still alive, although we see her in a bunch of trailers. I don't know, I just didn't think the story was that good. It wasn't that interesting to me. I wasn't engaged by the story, and the dialogue just to me was kind of, I don't know, nothing about this movie really worked for me. I can't say that it was 100% the worst movie of the year, which is why it's all the way in the number 10 spot, but still nonetheless, it has to be called out. Number 9! Morgan. This was a movie that I was actually looking forward to. Again, I like original science fiction films, and when I think this was produced by Ridley Scott. It's also directed by his son, but that doesn't really add anything. The movie pretty much is a giant bore fest. The entire beginning portion is just them talking, them building up, trying to get you invested in these characters before they all eventually inevitably die. And then when they start to die, it's not really that interesting. It's not really that cool. What I expected was sort of like this mutant creature, who's part human, part created through a scientific experiment, and she gets loose and she starts killing people left and right, and do it in a way that's sort of similar to Alien. I hate to say it just because Ridley Scott's name is in there, but it did kind of have that feel to me, that claustrophobic sort of where the hell is this person coming from, what's going on sort of feeling. I didn't like the way this movie ended up playing out. The action isn't that great, the story is really boring, and points I don't really think made that much sense. And then at the end there's a twist, and the twist I could hardly care about. It fixes a few things in the film, but it doesn't fix the fact that the film just kind of, I wasn't feeling it. Number 8, The Forest, and let the horror films begin, guys. I told you every year they have a bunch of them on the list. It's not the worst horror film of the year, but it's a lot closer to that than it was the best horror film of the year. Listen, this movie, it does the same old thing that all of them do. The story for me was kind of predictable after a certain point, so it stopped being very suspenseful. I just kind of called it. I was like, oh, that's gonna happen, and it happened. It didn't have me on the edge of my seat. I didn't really find any of the characters too interesting. I wasn't rooting for them to get out of there. I was just kind of sitting there watching it unfold. And I think I'm a little bit more hard on this because it is horror, and I'm tired of going to horror films that just kind of all feel the same or feel very predictable or just aren't that suspenseful or interesting, to say the least. I'm tired of it. I want more of the Don't Breathe, the Conjurings, the Insidiouses. I want more of that, less of this. I'm done. Number 7, Blair Witch. This one actually is a little interesting because there are parts of it that I did like, but there's so many other parts that I didn't like that it just has to go on the list for hell nah. I'm sorry. Again, horror films, stop doing this. Be better. This movie could have been so much more dope if it wasn't so predictable and that everything just didn't formulaically roll out at a certain point, you know? The ending, you call it from the very beginning of the movie. They all do stupid horror movie people things, and it kind of gets annoying after a while. There are some great parts, there are some interesting ideas, like going around and two people split off, and for one person it's been months or days or years, and for the other group it's only been one night. That was a really interesting concept, and I was like, if they continue with this and more interesting stuff like this, the movie will be really good. They went inside the house, and there was one really cool scene of her running through the building. It sort of reminded me of PT, but other than that, I mean, the characters were very stereotypical horror people. A lot of the motivations and some of the things that the people were doing just did not make sense. Yeah. Number 6, The Mechanic Resurrection. You know, I'm not even sure if I should put this on the list, because at least this movie knows what it's doing, but I have to because we paid money for it, and this is just ridiculous. Now, it's advertised as just being an action movie, and I guess that's what you're supposed to come there for. Just watch Jason Statham shoot and punch people in the face, you know? But at the same time, I mean, like, the story is so weak on this movie. I don't know what the hell Jessica Alba is doing, or not her, but her character. Like, I don't get what the point of her character was, why she was there in the first place. Like, her character just didn't make any sense to me. Thus, the plot of the movie didn't really make much sense to me. I just felt like it was really, really weak. I think it was solely just made to show off Jason Statham punching, kicking, and smacking people all over the place, and it gives it an excuse. If you're down for that kind of experience, I totally understand. Go check it out. But other than that, I mean, they could have done a lot better with the story. Assassin's Creed. I just recently saw this, and I had such high hopes for this movie. What happened? What the hell happened? I saw the trailers, I was like, that's not actually too bad. The music was actually pretty good. I like the Kanye West beat. This movie has so much going for it. Such great talent in front of the camera. Why are they wasted here? What is going on? I really wanted this movie to do so well. I really wanted this film to be the one, after Warcraft didn't really do it for me, to really shoot off the video game adaptation sort of thing, you know? I really wanted this to be the first good one, and unfortunately, it just falls short. The acting on this movie, surprisingly, and I think that's because it's what they're given to work with, is not that good in my opinion. The story was mad weak, did not make much sense at all, does not capitalize on anything set up in the prior video games, and does not really do much of its service, because it changes so much stuff up and just kind of makes it all kind of uninteresting. The action is okay. It ranges from being pretty good to okay, which is unfortunate for an Assassin's Creed movie. And the past portions of the world, like the 1492 portion of the game, or the film, just is so underused. It's not even used for actual characters. It's just used for action scenes, which is so disappointing. I'm not gonna lie, the film is actually pretty well shot. Like, there's some really cool scenes in there, but other than that, like the story, the characters behind those scenes, it just all falls apart. I don't want to see a sequel to this thing as much as I would. A sequel done by the same team that's behind the camera. I don't want to see another one done by these people. Yeah, I just don't know what to say. I'm so afraid for Mass Effect now because of these video game adaptations, but we'll see. Number 4. The Disappointments Room, which oddly enough wasn't a disappointment because I didn't expect anything from it. This movie is not only the epitome of what I hate about a horror film because it wasn't scary, the story wasn't that interesting at all, the movie's ending just doesn't really make any sense. For the past few minutes, we've been seeing that things are visions, that perhaps the protagonist of the movie has been doing some of the terrible things that she's been blaming on the ghost, and then people have died at that point in the movie and they just kind of ride off into the sunset. Nothing is explained, or the people that we thought got killed earlier by the ghost, are they still dead and it's really her fault, in which case she should be going to jail? You know what I mean? Like, none of it is explained. It doesn't make any sense. I hated this movie. Number 3. Independence Day 2. This movie is so laughably bad. Like, the first one, I mean, maybe it's my nostalgia that's hitting me every time I watch it, but I actually really enjoy that movie. It's not the most in-depth movie. It's just kind of a sit-back popcorn flick. You want to watch some aliens get blown up by Will Smith? Fine, go ahead. But this movie is just so laughably bad. It just cashes in on the fact that Jeff Goldblum does this Jeff Goldblum thing. A lot of the characters are just kind of thrown at you on the screen. You don't know why they're there. They just kind of pop up. The story is really weak. It goes all over the place. It goes from here to there and here to there, and in all 4 of these different locations, you don't care about any of the characters because you don't get a chance to really sit with them and really get why they're doing what they're doing. Not Will Smith and not Thor are both having a feud together. Do we know why? Not really. Do we care why? Not really. Not even by the end of the film. And the action is so ridiculously over the top. It takes up most of the story. The action's not half bad actually in some points, but that's the only thing that's not half bad. The story doesn't make any sense. The characters you don't care about by the end of the film. By the end of the movie, monsters are just chasing school buses, explosions are coming out of nowhere. At the end of it, none of it makes sense, and you try to understand why they're trying to set up for a sequel when they couldn't even do this movie right. I can't believe I went to go see this in theaters. I shouldn't have spent my money on it. That gives them more money to go out and make a sequel. I can't remember if this movie did well, but I just don't want to see a sequel from this film. No. The dialogue is also laughably bad in this movie. It's just some of this stuff. I can't believe they actually filmed it and said that would be okay. They're like all stereotypical characters left and right. It's just, it was not a good movie. Number 2. Gods of Egypt. Who didn't think this movie was gonna be a stinker? First off, it has to be addressed. How many white people did they really have in Egypt? Was it, there's only 1 or 2 black main characters, Chadwick Boseman, maybe one other person. The rest of them were all white people, really? I'm sorry, it doesn't make any sense. And aside from it just not seeming that politically correct, it fails to give the movie an identity of its own. If you're talking about Gods of Egypt, why doesn't it look like Egypt? This honestly feels like another Clash of the Titans, Wrath of the Titans sort of film. It looks like we're in ancient Greece. British accents and white people do not scream to me Egypt. It doesn't, and it gives the movie a lack of identity. The CGI goes from anywhere from being passable to very bad, and then just the story and first off, the characters you don't care about by the end. You do not. The characters are pretty much, especially the gods, they're all dicks, including the main character one. He's just a dick. You don't like him by the end of the movie. Did I say the CGI was terrible? It was terrible in some spots, and then the story just does not make sense. Characters die and then come back to life in a matter of minutes. It doesn't make any sense. You just don't question it. Don't question it or else your brain will hurt. Okay? I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. Let's go to the next spot. Number 1. This is the worst movie of 2016. You think you've seen bad films? This is a bad film. This is the worst film I have seen entire year. The Darkness. I cannot believe this movie. You can tell it was made a while ago because the boy who's the main character, Kevin Bacon's son in this movie, he's on Gotham, and he looks way older than that now, so I don't know how long it took them to make this movie, if it got released before and now it's being re-released again on a wider scale. This movie was hot garbage. Not only does it do everything that I said before about being so stereotypical, so cliche, so everything that's a horror trope, just pick it up and throw it into this movie is basically what they must have done when making it. This movie is so bad on every level. The story does not make sense. For someone of Kevin Bacon's caliber to be in this, what happened? He had to have phoned it in. What is going on here? This movie was hot garbage. I cannot stand this movie. It's the epitome of why I do not like horror films. The acting was okay. The scares were terrible. The writing was terrible. I think even the dialogue was bad. It was not a good film at all. But guys, that's just my opinion. I'm sure you guys got your own. Let me know in the comment section down below, what did you guys think of the top 10 worst films of 2016? Did your worst films get on the list? If not, let me know in the comment section down below, which movies did you guys hate the most this year? As always, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. Guys, please check out my other channel, Directors JXM. We got cool skits and short films out for you guys, including Star Wars Reprisal, short film I just put out not too long ago. Be sure to check that out. I run the channel with my boy Johnny Lee. He has his own channel over on JXB Entertainment. Be sure to check that out. Either way, that's it for today, guys. I'm the Messiah. This is Messiah Entertainment. See you guys next time. Peace. Oh yeah, before I forget, we got the most disappointing movies of 2016, the best TV shows, and I'm thinking about doing the best trailers of 2016, and the most anticipated, of course, of 2017 coming up soon. Those are the 4 top lists I have coming up soon. It's like a yearly sort of thing. If there's any ideas or suggestions you guys have, sure to let me know in the comment section down below. But, hey, see you guys next time.